Because the Lord had orchestrated that. He had them coming to the Battle of Armageddon, thinking they're going to battle one another. And they're getting ready, as I say, to meet up with God. 3 and verse 1. Go ahead when you get there.
For behold, in those days and in that time, I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem.
He's going to turn their captivity for when? In the latter days, not in 1948. He said, behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. What is he going to do?
I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat.
Go ahead.
And will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel.
He said, I'm going to gather all nations. He said that he's going to bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's the Battle of Armageddon. He said the valley of Jehoshaphat, meaning Jehovah will judge. It's going to be determined who's going to run this world. Will it be God or will it be man? He said, I'm going to gather all nations and bring them down in the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead with them there for my people. And when it talks about pleading with them, the Lord is going to do them like he did the Egyptians. He's just going to kill them. He said, I will plead with them there for my people, for my heritage, Israel. This is taking place when? When the Lord makes his second coming. So where is Israel? Still in captivity. As Jesus said, until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. But go ahead.
Whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots.
Verse number 3, go ahead.
And they have cast lots for my people. And have given a boy for an harlot. And so they girl for wine that they might drink.
Drop down to verse number 9. Listen to what the Lord had Joel proclaim, or to pronounce. And look at who he had him to proclaim this to. Go ahead.
Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles.
Tell them what?
Prepare war.
Now listen to what it's saying here. He said, you tell this to the Gentiles. And why is he telling Joel to proclaim this, make this proclamation to the Gentiles? Telling them prepare for war. Because he knows that it is the Gentiles who are going to be in rule of this world when he makes his second coming. And he told them, tell them to get ready, prepare for war. He said, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Go ahead.
Wake up the mighty men. And all the men of war draw near.
Go ahead.
Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong.
And have they not done that? They've taken all of their resources and put them not into those things that will benefit their fellow man, but they put them into building up their armor. He said, proclaim this among the Gentiles. Tell them to get ready, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near and let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Take your resources and invest, and not in those things that you can feed your fellow man with, but invest in those things that you can kill one another with. Let the weak say that I'm strong, and you have that. You have a nation can't feed themselves, but yet still they got the atomic bomb. They got nuclear warfare. They can destroy mightily. Go ahead.
11. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen. Gather yourselves together round about. Did they cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord?
And he said, when he said, assemble yourselves and come all ye heathens, he's just talking about the nations. He said, gather yourselves together round about. Did they call the mighty ones to come down, O Lord? Go ahead. Because what is he going to do?
Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about.
He said, let them come to the valley of Jehoshaphat, the valley where Jehovah is going to judge. Again, what Jesus is going to decide is going to be decided who's going to run this world. Will it be God or will it be man? He said, let them be awakened and come to the valley of Jehoshaphat. He said, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about, just as he judged Pharaoh. He's getting ready to judge the world. Go ahead.
Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full.
He said it's time to reap. Go ahead.
That's overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision.
Go ahead.
For the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision.
As I said, it's going to be determined who's going to run this world. Man of God. Go ahead.
The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shine.
Because it's the day, the time of the day of the Lord. Go ahead. What's going to happen?
The Lord also shall whirl out of Zion.
Because the Lord is back now. Go ahead.
And utter his voice from Jerusalem. And the heavens and the earth shall shake.
But what?
The Lord will be the hope of his people, and the strength of the children of Israel.
Again, this is the only hope that we are to have as a people. Because when he told us about the curses that he was placing on his people Israel, had Moses to tell us in Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, told them how they was going to be sold into slavery, how they was going into Egypt again by way of ships. He says that no man is going to buy you. You're going to be sold as bondmen and bondwomen, and no man will buy you. Meaning nobody's going to bring you up out of this predicament as a people. And here we remain, still in captivity, and will stay there until the second coming of the Lord. But turn over to Habakkuk, the 3rd chapter. Because man is actually going to have the audacity to try and fight God. Even, it sounds absurd, even thinking. But it's written here in this Bible for a reason. And when you look at man and his arrogance, man thinks that he is really more advanced than what he is. Man thinks that because of all of his weapons, that he can just about deal with anything. They make movies about these invasions. And what always happens when you have these aliens invade the earth? Don't you see man say, we're going to stand there and fight. We're going to stand there. We're going to fight these aliens. I've always looked at that. I've always found that perplexing. Because man, with all of his ability, he ain't never found any living thing out there. Any trace of any living thing in space. Been looking, can't find nothing. Then went to the moon, went in the deep outer space, can't find nothing. But all of a sudden, an alien's going to find his way to where we are. And you're going to turn around and think you can fight? It seems, I've always said, whatever technology that they have, that they can get to where you are. First they can keep themselves hid, and then they can get to where you are, but you can't find them and can't get to where they are. It seems like they can find something to put on you. I think the best thing would be if something like that happened, leave them alone. But then again, man is arrogant, and he thinks because of his atomic bomb, his nuclear weapons, he can be able to fight. And who he's going to be fighting? Thinking he's fighting an alien, he's actually going to be fighting God. Or trying to. Because the battle ain't going to go long, and it ain't going to go well. Habakkuk told us about it. 3 in verse number 1. Habakkuk 3 and 1. Go ahead when you get there.
A prayer of Habakkuk the prophet upon Shagaiah. O Lord, I have heard thy speech and was afraid.
Listen to what Habakkuk is saying here. The Lord told Habakkuk what he was going to do. Habakkuk said he heard this and he was afraid. What did Habakkuk say?
The Lord revive thy work in the midst of the year. In the midst of the years make known.
And what?
In wrath remember mercy.
He said Habakkuk heard what the Lord was going to do, and Habakkuk said, Lord, change it up. He said, revive thy work in the midst of the years. And then he went on to say, and in the midst of the years make known. Then he said, in wrath remember mercy. Because what God has promised must come to pass. God is going to come and pour out his wrath on man. And Habakkuk say, God, in your wrath, in your fiery indignation, just be merciful. Go ahead.
God came from Teman,
Uh-huh.
and the Holy One from Mount Paran.
Go ahead.
His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise.
The Lord is coming to punish man for his wickedness. Verse number 6, and go ahead. What did the Lord do? Because he said God came from Teman, that's simply Edom. And the Holy One from Mount Paran, Arabia. God is here again, and he's going to punish man. Verse 6, go ahead.
He stood and measured the earth.
Go ahead.
He beheld and drove asunder the nations.
Uh-huh.
And the everlasting mountains were scattered.
Go
The
ahead.
perpetual hills did bow. His ways are everlasting.
He said he stood and he measured the earth, and he beheld and drove asunder the nation. And the everlasting mountains, talking about the nations, were scattered, and the perpetual hills, the small government, did bow. He said his ways are everlasting. Verse number 11, and go ahead.
The sun and moon stood still in their habitation.
Let you know we're talking about the same time. He said the sun and the moon stood still in their habitation. Go ahead.
At the light of thine arrows they went.
Uh-huh.
And at the shining of thy glittering spear.
Knowing this is the day of the Lord. What did the Lord do?
Thou didst march through the land in indignation.
Go ahead.
Thou didst thresh the heathen in anger.
He said, thou didst march through the land in his indignation, and thou didst thrust the heathen in wrath. Verse number 16. Listen to what Habakkuk said here.
When I heard, my belly trembled.
What?
My lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself.
That what?
That I might rest in the day of trouble.
You hear what Habakkuk is saying here? What can a man come to find that could be so terrible that he said, just let me be dead? I wouldn't even want to deal with nothing like this. He said, when I heard what the Lord was going to do, he said, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice. He said, and rottenness, the sickness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself, that I might rest in the day of trouble. When what?
When he cometh up unto the people,
what is the Lord going to do?
He will invade them with his truth.
He said when he come upon the people, he's going to invade them with his truth. The Lord is coming back. Paul told you he's coming back in flame and fire with his holy angels. But Habakkuk is telling you he's coming back with an army. And he's coming back to invade man. He said when he comes up on the people, he's going to invade them with his truth. He is coming back. You don't go nowhere with an army unless you plan on doing some damage when you get there. He is coming back to take over this world. He's going to take it over by force. That's why I say the false doctrine of the rapture does nothing but obscure the truth of what God really has in store for this world and for mankind as a whole. People running around talking about left behind, they just don't really know. They don't get it. God is not taking anybody anywhere. To escape this, you have to know what his will is, and his will is for us to be obedient unto him. Otherwise, we are all going to fall under this banner. And even if you don't live until the second coming of the Lord, one should not feel secure in that fact, because God's just going to wake you up, and you're going to have to deal with judgment at that time. So sooner or later, we all going to have to stand before the judgment seat of Christ and give an account of the things that are done in his body. All this is temporal. God is coming. He's going to destroy it all down to the ground. Habakkuk told us about it. Joel told us about it. Peter told us about it. Paul told us about it. Jesus told us about it. It would seem that people would have some understanding. But then again, what did Jesus tell them when they asked him about his coming in the end of the world? He said, take heed and let no man deceive you. Nobody as a whole has paid attention to what thus said the Lord. It's all written here what's going to take place, but yet still people believe in the fallacy. that they're going to go off to heaven. But turn over. He said the Lord is going to invade them with his truth. Turn over to Revelation, the 19th chapter. You see, people want to go and be inspired. They want to hear words of inspiration. These are words of inspiration because it should inspire one to learn what they need to do to obtain salvation, to avoid this destruction. 19 and verse number 11. Because John told us about this battle. Again, God is going to engage in war with man. 19 and 11. Go ahead.
And I saw heaven open, and behold a white horse. And he that sat upon it was called Faithful and True.
Go ahead.
And in righteousness he doth judge and make war.
He said that John said he saw heaven open, and behold, there was a white horse, and he that sat on him was called Faithful and True. And who was it that appeared when the sky rolled back like a scroll? It was none other than Jesus. He said, and he thou judge, but he also is doing something else. He said that he's making war, and he's making war with man. Go ahead.
His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns.
Go ahead.
And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself.
He said, not on his head were many crowns. Because it said the kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ. He said his eyes were a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. Go ahead.
And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood.
And that just symbolizes or represents all of the killing that the Lord is going to do when he comes. He said he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood. And his name is called what?
And his name is called the Word of God.
That's none other than Jesus. He's the spokesperson of the Godhead. He's the one that is the Word. Go ahead.
And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon.
Didn't Rebecca say that he was going to invade the people with his troops? He said, and the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses. Again, you don't go nowhere with an army unless you plan on doing some damage when you get there. As he told Pilate, when it's time for me and my kingdom, me and my servants, we're going to be fighting. It's time for his kingdom. It's time for him to do battle with man. He said, the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. Go ahead.
15. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword.
Go ahead.
And with it he should smite the nations.
He said, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, talking about the tongue, and with it he shall smite the nation. He's just going to speak the word, and it's going to be done. Go ahead.
And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. And he treaded the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God.
He told them to hide them from the wrath of the Lamb, did they not? Again, he's not playing the role of the Lamb this time. He said he's going to rule them with a rod of iron. He treaded the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God. Go ahead.
And he had on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
Go ahead.
And I saw an angel standing in the sun.
Because he's going to be king and priest, but go ahead.
And he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven,
what?
Come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God. That ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great.
Look here, it's going to be so many dead people, you ain't going to be able to bury them all. He's going to call for the fowls of the air to come and the beasts of the field to devour the dead bodies, to rid the land. But go ahead.
And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army.
This is asinine. Man is actually going to try and fight God. As I say, they're going to say this is an invasion. This is an alien. And they're going to try to protect their homeland. And they're going to end up fighting God. It says, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and his army. I remember when I first found out about this, it just blew my mind. How man can be so arrogant, but then when you understand